Welcome to another edition of the Living Large Theater Podcast. I am Billy Santiago, along with my good friend of 36 years, Gary Rodriguez, super producer Noe Ayala. You can reach out to us at livinglargetheater@gmail.com. We're available on these platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime, and the iHeart Podcast Network. If you want to become a sponsor of this fine show, reach out to our super producer Noe at 956-451-1633. Rate our podcast, leave us a comment, share with a friend, and more importantly, hit that subscribe button.
Hey, thank you, Billy, and welcome to the Living Large Theater Podcast. Remember, admission to the Living Large Theater is always free. All you need is a sense of humor and a thirst for entertainment. And what's that I see behind your head there, Billy? Oh, it's a big red wave overcoming the United States of America. The big red wave. Donald Trump has been reelected the 47th president of the United States. We're going to get into some of that later on, but right now we're going to introduce our very special guest, Celia Thrash. Celia Thrash is an author. She is the author of the book Codename Baker Catcher. We're going to get into that book. We're going to get into what it takes to be an author, how to get published, and just the intricacies of sitting down and keeping your stuff together and managing to crank out a book. That is a lot harder than a lot of people believe. Our sponsors, White Sands Marina Inn and Suites, Port Isabel, Texas. We also have Ward Thomas, Majestic Studios, and also Fred Rodriguez, the Texas Sportsman, the premier Texas Sportsman, as evidenced by a recent Texas Senate proclamation bestowed on Fred Rodriguez by State Senator Chuy Hinojosa. Those are our sponsors. And now let's dive into Codename Baker Catcher. Celia, good morning. Welcome to the Living Large Theater.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
This is awesome, man. So in the interest of full disclosure, I bought the book on Amazon. With all the distractions leading up to the election and this very moment, I didn't get to finish it, but I did see some interesting things that really caught my mind reading the book. First of all, your father was an Aggie, and this book is about Jack Ellis Westbrook.
Correct.
That's
my dad.
Tell us what motivated you to write the book, first of all, and were these his writings that you compiled and edited, or how did you get the information?
Okay, that's a good question. I'd have to take you back about 67 years ago.
Let's go. We're off to see you.
How much time do we have here?
Go right ahead.
No, but you know, when people, as a child, many of them, their parents read them books before they go to bed. Well, my dad would tell us war stories.
Oh.
And I grew up to be insanely interested in World War II from there. I mean, by the time I was in ninth grade, I'd read Mein Kampf by Hitler.
Wow.
And I was always interested. And then, of course, life happens. So then I told my dad to please write down your thoughts. When I was in my 20s, I guess, I said, Dad, write down everything that was so important to us. So about 10 years later, he hands me one of those black old 3-ring binders, you know, like what kids take to school.
Sure.
And in it was all these pages of stories and notes and letters.
And dates and
yes,
locations.
Exactly. And so from there on, I was so happy, but being such a brat, I put it in my office, and there it stayed until COVID. So then after cleaning my house 3 times during COVID, like what you do, I stumbled onto the book again. I read it, and I went, man, this is good stuff. I've got to put this so that my kids can understand it, get through so much of the stuff that I didn't think they'd be interested in.
Yeah.
And weed through it. So then it was like a 2-year project because my dad had written it with those old typewriters.
Oh, the old typewriter, yeah. Hunt and peck.
Yeah, so it wasn't in a shape to do computer-wise. So I started 2 years of that. Now, this was the interesting thing that I wasn't anticipating. But especially because mine was a factual book, I had to get all the facts, the places, the times, everything where my dad was. I had to get it verified. So I had a fantastic publisher in Houston, and she had a gentleman that she'd worked with to go over all the facts in it.
Oh, wow.
Now, he was associated with the military, and y'all may have seen this in movies or not, I don't know, but you always see someone typing and you're going, on a table and you're going, what in the heck? Well, at the scene of any battle, they're typing all this stuff up
Yes.
and who's in it and what
So
group.
what?
and
So what time period of that was?
it was in the 40s.
Wow. So
Yeah.
World War II. And,
Yes, it was all World War II, and so Dad went in. It started with
That's how everything ends up in your record. I mean, every soldier and
Exactly.
airman and marine and if you're in the military, they have to keep record of where you are, who
Exactly.
you are, what you're doing, what unit you're with, what campaign you're in, and what actions were taken. Because believe it or not, that's how they use the information to give you awards later on. The Gold Star, the Bronze Star, the
Right.
Purple Heart. He got hurt here, and that's what they
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. And so he from it starts at Pearl Harbor when he was at A&M, and then it goes in through his training, and then it goes into him being in the war and on the front line.
Yeah.
So the book takes you through that. It takes you. He was with one of the groups. There's a kind of a difference in opinion whether it was the 45th Regiment or the 42nd Regiment of the Rainbow Division on who liberated Dachau, which I'm sure you know is a notorious concentration camp. And then it goes in. He had been injured. He had. This is interesting. He was there. There was only one. It's not execution by the United States against one of their own men.
Oh, wow.
And Dad happened to be in the right place at the maybe wrong or right time where they called him over to be a witness. So
Oh,
we
my.
actually saw the gentleman being tied to a pole. Executed.
Yeah, but one of our own through treason or
Yes, treason.
Yeah.
For treason. And they had, in all fairness, they had warned him, don't try this again. Don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did anyway. So he got to see that, which was quite interesting.
Well, the Dachau prison was just notorious for just the meanness of humanity
He
from
saw
one on
it
another.
all. He saw him.
It was awful.
He saw prisoners take the hands of, like, there was one particular awful Nazi woman, and he saw the prisoners literally pull her in two, take limbs off and all. And he was
There at the prison camp?
at the prison camp. Yeah, they
Wow.
were so angry, and crazy.
Yes, yes.
And they were crazy too toward the end when they said, you have to stay here till we can get you taken someplace. And they're going, wait, we're supposed to be free. You're
Yeah.
supposed to let us go. Well, they had diseases, they were ill.
Yeah.
So there was a part of that
And they
had
were so
to-
malnourished. I
Oh.
mean, that alone
Yeah.
is reason to hold on to them for at least a little while, until things get somewhat back to normal.
Right.
So your father served in World War II. He did see combat,
Yes.
and he made it back. A lot of people didn't make
Right.
it back. Did he have any feelings of guilt, or did he harbor any sensitivities that he was one of the ones that did come home?
I don't think so in that regard, but he certainly had PTSD when he came because, he'd been shot and everything. And just the things that they see, like you said, at Dachau and in war. And he definitely had that. But he had my mother was a strong wife to him, and then they had children, and, life goes on.
Yeah.
But no. But can I tell you that one of the stories that was one
Please
of
do.
my favorites?
That's why you're here.
Okay.
Look, it's called Codename Baker Catcher, Jack Ellis Westbrook. These are based on notes, and it is edited by our guest today, author Celia Westbrook Thrash. We want you to buy it. I bought mine on Amazon. Where else is it available?
Well, I talked to a lady the other day who got it from Barn White had copies,
Okay.
and then also Barnes and Nobles had them. I don't know if they've sold out, but I talked to a lady yesterday who said she got one there.
Okay, good.
But
Codename Baker Catcher. Go buy
Yeah.
your copy today.
and the code name is because Baker Catcher was my dad's code name when he went on patrol, when they went across into enemy territory.
Okay.
But okay, so what I was going to tell you is one of the things that got me so interested in Dad and in the World War II is my dad would tell us about during the occupation, they decided to do, and this is when they were, he was in Austria. So they're trying to get the people to like U.S., the Allies again, because they were so frightened of them.
Yeah.
So they decided to do a Christmas party. Christmas was coming up. And so they saved all their K rations. Now, this was, I don't know why, but I loved Cracker Jacks at that time. But he said that actually the U.S. Commissioned the Cracker Jack company to make the boxes, and that was their K rations. And in each K ration was a little piece of meat, a little piece of a thing of cream and tea, and a piece of chocolate.
If you were lucky that you got the one with the chocolate in
Crackers,
there.
yeah. So you had all the nutritional value that you were supposed to have during that meal. So he would tell that they saved all that up, and then Christmas comes, and what they do is they hold a Christmas party for all the children in the local bar, which is where everybody met.
Always, yeah. In Germany, that's where you hang out, in the bar.
Exactly. And they had fixed it up with a pulley system where they got one of the ballerinas that were local there, and they had her come down like the Christmas angel with a spotlight. She came down for the children. They had the neighborhood workshops make toys for all the kids. And then they had their meal, and they were so excited. They made little sandwiches and hot chocolate. They were so proud of themselves.
Oh, of course.
But then all the kids
So they were mending fences.
The kids started throwing up because they'd never had such rich food.
Oh,
so he said the whole time that they were so proud that all of a sudden everybody's vomiting everywhere.
That is funny.
Hey, Gary, real quick.
Yeah.
If you look up Baker Catcher on Google, you'll see a line of bookstores that have them online. So
Thank you, sir.
You'll catch them on there. So.
Yeah, this one was about $24. So, thank you, Noe. Apart from the awfulness of Germany, did he ever express anything that he did like about Germany?
He skied, and he loved to ski when they got their little days off and everything.
He learned to ski.
Yeah.
Oh, big old Texas boy learning to ski in Germany.
Yeah, learning to ski, right.
Now, he went in as an officer, correct?
Well, he went to officer training school,
Okay,
yes, and goes into, because a lot of the guys at A&M at that time went into that area. They were a little bit more prepared for that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I saw that, I read where some of the people that he encountered along the way actually resented the A&M guys because they were better prepared. They were already kind of officer material, just being products of Texas A&M University.
Yes, exactly.
Well, how did he feel about that? I mean, I think he was...
he was just one of those guys that just keeps going.
Yeah.
And he always kept his head up. And it's toward the end of the book, and I know you probably didn't get to this part, but to me, one of the most important parts of the war was occupation.
Afterwards.
Yes, afterwards. And they could not stand the Russians. I'm so sorry. Please don't send him bad mail about that. At this time, the Russian behavior with them was so arrogant, and they were allies, but they had to work together.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the stories in here that are just horrifying.
Of encounters with the Russians?
With the Russians.
Give us
and
an
how
example.
They treated people. All right. Well, he talked about how, when a Russian was over during the war and they got kept prisoner, many times they said, okay, we'll help you if you'll just let us, don't beat us. So they would join the Germans. Well, at the end of the war, the Russians would go in, get these their people, and then they were going to take them back to Russia, and they would put them in these cable cars, and they would naked. They couldn't take a thing, and they put them in these cars.
Their own people for
for
helping the Germans.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then they were shipping them back, and these guys were so frightened of what was going to happen to them when they got there that they would actually eat their flesh so they could bleed to death.
Oh my!
Wow.
And they had a system in these cable cars are divided with wood slats, where a guy would willingly put his head next to the slat so that another guy could strangle him and kill him.
That's desperation.
But they were so desperate. And
that is desperation.
Dad was it was one of the most brutal things that he's ever seen is how they treated their own people.
So how long did your dad serve in the army?
Not all that long. He was in the army, and he was in there from 43 or 44 to 46. Whenever right after Pearl Harbor, and then he went home after and let me tell you, the Pacific was awful. The Pacific front, the war going on in the Pacific, and then after that war, then they send him home. He's got a great sense of humor because during the occupation afterwards, and everybody's going home, but the officers have to stay around longer. They put him in charge of the fire department in Vienna.
Oh, wow.
And it just so happened at that time they had the largest fire that has ever happened in the history
And
of
there's
Vienna.
Jack Westbrook
And
leading the
he's like
charge.
going, I don't know how to
No,
be a
you
firefighter.
mean Vienna, Austria, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you got it. He really
Get
talks
the
us-
American.
Yeah,
We also have listeners from Russia, from Moscow, in this.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm
Don't be
not.
reaching out to you.
It's okay. Don't
Sorry,
worry.
I've
Hey,
been
that
there.
No, it's okay.
That was 70 years ago.
yeah.
That was 70 years
You're
ago.
lovely.
Yeah, I'm sorry to break that up.
I love Porsche.
they still hold grudges.
Hey, Celia, let me ask you. So, your father saw firsthand the brutality that the Germans imposed on not only the Russians, but on the Jewish people who suffered
Yes.
horribly.
Yes.
Did that affect him at all? I mean, did it sort of alter his own humanity on understanding what people can do to each other?
Yeah, certainly after Dachau, you see what happens.
Yeah.
And with that, yes, he was, he was a great guy. And the byline on the book is called The Human Side of World War II.
Yeah.
And that's because the book shows the human side. It's just not big battles and,
Right.
your longitude and latitude of when this battle happened and all the names of the people.
Yeah. I was in the Army. Billy's dad was in the Army. Was he in
Right.
Germany?
We spent a year and a half in Stuttgart back in the mid '60s, and we spent 4 years in Pirmasens from '68 to '72. And on school field trips, the one time we went to one of the concentration camps.
Oh, yes. Well,
Wow, what a
yeah.
field
And,
trip.
Oh
I
man,
know. That's quite a field trip for
that I was 7th grade when we went. And that was very eye opening, man.
Did they tell you what happened there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the
Part of
tour
the tour?
guides. Yeah, it was.
That's really brutal,
That's
man.
an
It really
eye-opener.
was.
Seventh
It really
grade?
was.
Yeah,
My eyeballs would have been like this.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I know. My husband, he took me, kind of surprised me with the trip to go to Germany and to Dachau. So
Oh, wow.
after going through, and that's probably where you went, was
That-
through Dachau. Do you think, or Auschwitz?
The
Auschwitz.
no, the other one.
Dachau.
The cow.
Dachau.
Yeah.
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 That's
That's
crazy.
probably where you went.
When I was in Germany, I spent 3 years there from 79 to 82. You could tell that the older people that were probably your father's age, they appreciated the Americans. It was the younger generation that resented us being there.
Really?
Oh yeah, of course we kind of did it to ourselves, not me personally, but you have GIs over there just acting stupid and doing stupid stuff and and causing problems and that was the reputation that was bestowed on the younger generation. But if we walked into a Gasthaus or a bar or a restaurant, all the older people would come over and say hi, and thank you for being here.
Because they
And my-
appreciated.
yeah, and that's part of the occupation. Obviously, I was there way after your father, but somebody still had to be there to
Yes.
ensure that Germany stays straight. But it was the younger people. As a matter of fact, in Germany, if you're an American, you have your license plate doesn't look like our license plate. It's a big green plate that they put on your car, so it identifies your car as an American. And you see all these cars driving through Frankfurt that have been pelted with water balloons filled with paint. So if you have a blue car, if you have a blue car, you're going to see all kinds of splotches of white and red and yellow, and the youngsters throw the water balloons filled with paint at the American cars. And at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to blame them because of the Americans who go over there and end up being what they call bad Americans.
Yeah, right.
But nonetheless, the guys like your father that went before us and went before me, I think that they are the true heroes of the generations that we've had. And even Tom Brokaw says they are the greatest generation
Right.
ever.
Now, there are some people out there that don't believe what happened in Germany. You've heard about that, right? What
Yes.
do you tell those people that
They're
believe
crazy as loons.
You're an idiot.
You're an
The
idiot.
evidence
happened.
is there, man.
Yeah,
know.
they're Holocaust deniers because of their hatred towards the Jewish people, and just
Yes.
change that around. And okay, so they hate Jews, okay, but what if they hate you? Then what?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's where it starts. It's a slippery slope. I will forever be traumatized myself on what I've seen that man can do to another man,
Right.
just based on somebody being a different religion,
Yes.
and having different thoughts of what should have happened and what did happen. I think the consensus I feel is that what we did over there was the right thing, to
Yes.
stop it, to liberate
Yes.
the Jews, to give them Israel, help them,
You're right.
have their own land, and at the end of the day, God's in charge, and those are His chosen people.
Right.
And I think anybody who goes against that, you're on your own, man.
Well, and they're going to be crazy
Yeah.
anyway.
Hey, we want
Goodness.
to acknowledge our sponsors once again. It's White Sands Marina Inn and Suites, Port Isabel, Texas, Arnold Flores, Corina Flores. They are the best. And you want to get a nice room in Port Isabel. You can party on the island. You can Uber to and from White Sands Marina. It is going to be very, very well worth your time to check out White Sands Marina. They have a great bar, they have an awesome restaurant, and they have the best prices in the Rio Grande Valley. That is White Sands Inn and Suites in Port Isabel. We also want to thank Ward Thomas and Fred Rodriguez, the Texas Sportsman.
Gotta have it.
Our guest today, Celia Scoggins, the author of the book Codename Baker Catcher. So, man, this is one handsome dad. Your dad's here on the cover. Jack Ellis Westbrook, conservative, A&M officer, World War II combat veteran. What would he have thought about Tuesday's election?
He would have rolled over in his grave. He'd been so excited.
Yeah. Oh, and a good rolling.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I guess that could have gone both ways. No, he would have been so excited because, back then they were for America.
Yeah.
They wanted to go and defend America. And they also believed in common sense political values instead of some of the crazy stuff that you see now. So he would have been, it was such a landslide. And it showed so much of the direction that where we want to go now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have been so happy.
You're
so
right.
happy.
You just used the right word, which is landslide. Trump's going in there with a mandate to cut taxes, stop immigration, deport those that are causing problems, and also to get our economy back on track.
Yeah. And get us back to common sense.
Yeah.
You
That's what it was
know?
all about.
Yeah,
A
and you were
common
just,
sense election. It
Yeah.
really was.
and you were just talking about we were talking about how you should show a license, your
Driver's
license to vote in Florida, and you're going, well, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Anyway?
Right? It's just common sense. And then,
Yeah.
Not in some states. They think
No.
other people are too stupid
Like
to go get it.
California.
Yeah.
and- sorry,
crazy, it's
love
crazy.
California.
Going back to the book, is there any movie deal? Anybody offered you anything for the story?
Well, it is kind of funny because no. However, I did get, but I didn't take it too seriously. That a gentleman from, I think he was from India with the Indian movie. Going
Bollywood.
stuff. Bollywood,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Who had a relationship where he was working with another guy from Germany, and they had talked about wanting me to do it, but it seemed awfully sketchy.
Yeah.
And
Your instincts were probably
my instinct was no.
Yeah.
this
So
is
what
just
they
not-
what they want,
They wanted me to help They wanted to buy the rights of the book
right?
to make a. He wasn't going to be the main character of it. I don't think. I think they wanted to use his stories and then put him in there along with others.
Yeah.
Into it, but it just didn't seem right.
So when your dad got out, did he keep in touch with many of the guys that he served with?
Oh, yes, he did. And then also one of the families he lived with in Austria.
Oh wow!
And so, oh, yeah, my dad was quite the writer, and he kept in touch with people. Yes.
That is awesome.
So
So
it's
when your dad got
good.
out in 46, what did he end up doing in civilian life?
He was an engineer, civil engineer for
Okay.
Sun Oil Company. So we just lived a normal, good life.
Nice. So y'all came. He was born in where, Lufkin or that?
No,
area?
rural Texas. We're talking mainstream West Texas, a small town that's
Oh,
probably
West Texas.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
okay.
probably going to be a ghost town before too long. But it's where everybody knew your name.
What
you-
town is that?
Rural.
Oh, rural.
Yeah, RULE.
Oh, rural. Okay.
Yes.
Rural Texas.
And I'm telling you, there are no one's better than the people in rural.
Oh,
They
my
are
goodness.
such good people. And they all voted for Trump, I'm sure.
Funny story. McAllen used to be like that back in the days.
Really?
Everybody knew your name.
Yes, yes, like the bar.
Hey, let's talk about what it takes to get a book published as we wind down this great conversation with author Celia Thrash. How do you do it? And so many people just get so discouraged that they put it away and they're like, screw it. Somebody told me no again. How do you persevere? What are the steps that you took to actually get this produced?
Well, first, I was fortunate enough to kind of run into my producer or editor, who Erin Faith Allen is her name, in Houston, and she kind of helped direct. And it's just so much work editing it, and then you just have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in my case, we had to fact check it. And then once you get it all ready, then where it's good to go. Oh, the pictures, if you put pictures in it, it's just very detailed with all that. It takes a while.
Would you encourage somebody that wants to do that
Yes.
to write it through?
Well,
And-
Gary, aren't you in the process?
yeah,
of,
I'm working on a book on my time in the military, but that and trying to do other things at the same time, it kind of
Yeah.
gets pushed to the back burner, and that's why I have so much admiration for you to.
Well, COVID, I couldn't do anything. It was the perfect timing.
and you were just like cleaning out your garage or
No.
your
I got through cleaning the house, and I was in like going, what am I going to do now? And then I saw my dad's book, and I thought, well, I'm going to read that. And then when I read it, then
Yeah,
Wow, interesting.
so that gave me a good time. But you're right.
there you go.
You have to devote a long time knowing
It
it's going to
is.
take a while.
Yeah, I had a goal writing my book of cranking out 3 pages a day, but even that is hard.
Yeah.
That's harder than you think because you have so much to balance. You have so much, like Bob Seger says, what to leave in, what to leave out.
Right.
And you're thinking, wow,
what song was that?
one of his.
Hey, Gary,
Oh, okay.
did you ever go back and read it and then say, oh, you know what? No. Let me go ahead and
That's a
redo
good
it?
point.
I
yeah.
will see that. I will say there were things I wished I had said more
Okay.
and all.
Yeah.
But
How about you, Gary? Do you ever go and read it? You're like, oh, you know what? Let me go
Yeah,
back.
I've eliminated chapters just because I'm thinking,
Nobody cares.
and I've
because
eliminated.
because Gary, being a military serviceman over in Frankfurt, Germany, back in the late 70s and early
that's
80s,
amazing.
you could get in some big. I was there when I was a young teenager, and we used to go hang out at the guest houses all the
Or
time.
did
Oh,
you
you
go-
can get in a lot of trouble.
Or did you go
Oh.
on a rant and you're like, I got to pull this out?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Just think you've got your timeline. And I was fortunate enough basically to have notes on my dad's stories. So
Yeah.
that gave me my outline on how to go forwards.
My
But you're gonna-
timeline is 77 to 83. So you're right.
Yes.
You have that timeline.
and you use that.
And that's what I've been doing. You
Yeah.
start from there, but I'm still like not even to the midpoint of my time in the military. Celia Thrash, thank you so much for coming.
I loved it.
Give us a plug right now for your book, Codename Baker Catcher.
Codename Baker Catcher. And I will tell you, I'm not a good author. I'm really not. But I've got some great stories to tell. And they're in the book.
The fact that you persevered and got it published is
It's amazing.
it's amazing.
Congratulations.
It's remarkable. Our hats are off to you.
Bakercatcher.com, is that somewhere they
I
could...
do have
Okay.
a webpage, bakercatcher.com, and it's got, kind of a review of everything.
Okay, so that's how to get in touch with you, bakercatcher.com. Celia Thrash, thank you for entering the Living Large Theater.
Love it.
Thank you so much for being here.
The Living Large Theater Podcasts available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime, the iHeart Podcast Network. You can reach out to us on our Gmail account, livinglargetheater@gmail.com. If you want to become a sponsor of this fine show, reach out to us at 956-451-1633. That's our super producer, Noe's phone number. Please, no calls after 9 p.m. Rate our podcast, leave a comment, share with a friend. More importantly, hit that subscribe button. Until the next time, you keep living large because you know we're living large.